latest ITV news in the Tyne region.
With Emily and Helen Carnell.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. On tonight's programme, cash grab. A man who blew up an ATM in Northumberland's jailed for 8 years. We're live with the latest. Roadworks. A mother who's campaigned for safer driving laws after her son's death reacts to the government's new proposals. Close running. Sunderland and Newcastle have the chance to move into the European places or slip into the bottom half tonight. And woolly jumper weather. We'll find out how farmers have been fighting the freezing cold conditions. First tonight, a man's been sentenced to 8 years in jail after blowing up a cash point in Northumberland in a failed attempt to steal its money. Christopher Follows from Morpeth was arrested at his home where officers discovered 3 more improvised explosive devices which had to be made safe by the army. Our correspondent Rachel Bullock was in court for us today, and Rachel, the judge was very clear about how serious this plot was.
Yes, that's right. Christopher Follows, who is 45, was told that he is a dangerous offender, and CCTV from his attempt to rob a cash machine in the dead of night in May last year certainly shows why. It captures Follows lighting the fuse to explosives which he'd forced into the ATM at Hedgley Services in Powburn. He runs to take shelter before it explodes in a blast of light. Despite the power of that blast, the machine wasn't fully opened, and so Follows fled the scene in a car with fake number plates. But that wasn't the 45-year-old's only attempt last year to blow up cash points. Today at Newcastle Crown Court, the court heard how later on Follows then made a further 2 almost identical attempts to blow up ATMs, but in the south of the country. One was in Cambridgeshire, where he managed to detonate the device, but again, it didn't crack the machine open. And then the other was in Northamptonshire. The same tactics of lighting the fuse to set the device off, but once again, he failed to fully open the machine, and so he left empty-handed. Well, in September last year, officers from the organised crime unit raided the flat which Follows shared with his mother in Morpeth. There, they found a further 3 explosive devices. The entire block of flats had to be evacuated, while the Army's bomb disposal experts were brought in order to make them safe. Passing sentence today, the judge referred to Follows' 28 previous offences, which include robbery and assault. He told him that he deserves full credit for entering very early guilty pleas to these latest charges, but nevertheless, he remains a dangerous offender whose actions at those ATMs last year posed a serious risk to the public. Christopher Follows will serve 8 years behind bars. He'll then have another 3 out on licence.
Okay, Rachel, thank you very much indeed for the latest there. Our correspondent Rachel Bullock. Now next tonight to the changes that it's hoped will make our roads much safer. We'll have reaction in a moment from a mother who's been campaigning for change after the death of her son. But first, let's take a look at the details. The government's road safety strategy sets a target of reducing the number of people killed or seriously injured on the roads by 65% by 2035. And there are a series of measures they're considering, including lowering the drink drive limit in England and Wales to bring it in line with Scotland. A blood alcohol limit that's lower again for new drivers. A minimum learning period for learner drivers of 3 or 6 months. Mandatory eyesight testing for drivers over the age of 70. Options for cognitive testing for older drivers. Reviewing the penalties for drink and drug driving offences. So, how's that gone down with people who've been campaigning for safer roads? Katie Cole's been speaking to one woman who, while she broadly welcomes the change, still thinks opportunities have been missed.
I guess it's a little bit of like memory corner. It kind of started with a picture, and then that first Christmas, and there was his birthday, I still feel the need to buy my son something.
Memories are all Nicola Bell-Percy has left of son Aaron, including the first-class sports qualification the 18-year-old never knew he'd got. He was one of 3 teenage passengers who died in a crash in Bedale in July 2022. The 18-year-old driver was jailed for causing their deaths.
It just crushes your whole life. I've never been through as much pain. It's kind of true that half of you dies that day as well.
Since Aaron's death, Nicola's campaigned for safer roads, so welcomes government plans to make new drivers wait up to 6 months between sitting a practical and theory test, but says she's gutted it hasn't introduced the graduated driving licence, which could stop young drivers carrying passengers of a similar age for 6 months after passing their test.
It's a huge missed opportunity to put something in place that will prevent these young people losing their lives. You know, there's nothing more exciting than passing your test and going and picking all your mates up and going out and having fun. I get that. However, I don't think people realise the risks that brings. And it's not restricting them. What we're doing is protecting them.
Calls for the graduated driving licence have also been backed by police and crime commissioners.
I think we're all disappointed with what's in this strategy at this particular time. But the other positive thing is there is consultation going on, and there's also part of that is any other things that aren't in the strategy that should be in the strategy. And what we're seeing with graduated driving licence or protected driving licences, it can reduce killed and seriously injured by 40%.
Nicola says she will keep campaigning in memory of her son and to protect other young drivers and passengers, including Aaron's younger brother, Luke.
I'm dreading the day when he turns 17, and I hope that the government will have listened by then and they will have made more changes to make it safer for our young drivers out there.
Well, let's get more on this now from Westminster and join our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick. Tom, how do the government respond to these kinds of criticisms that we've just heard there, that they're not doing enough to protect young people in particular?
Ministers say they've worked with and listened to a number of bereaved families in drawing up this strategy, and they insist that the plans they've set out today will reduce the number of young people killed and injured on our roads. They point particularly to their proposal for a minimum learning period, saying that will give learner drivers more time to get experience driving at night and in difficult weather conditions.
We've had to strike a balance between protecting young people and not curtailing their ability, their opportunities for work and education and a social life. The measures that we're proposing, a minimum learning period, we want to set up every young person to have a lifetime of safe driving.
They're also considering a specifically lower drink-drive limit for new drivers. That would be alongside reducing the legal alcohol limit for all other drivers to bring it in line with the tighter rules that are already in place in Scotland. People living near the border may be aware of that. Finally, though, these changes are not coming into force immediately. The plans will now go to consultation for the public and interested parties to comment on.
OK, Tom, at Westminster tonight, thank you very much indeed.
An inquest has heard that it took 10 minutes for an ambulance crew to access the home of a grandfather who'd rung 999 because they couldn't find a key to his door.
Peter Coates from Redcar made the call to the North East Ambulance Service after a power cut stopped the home oxygen supply that he relied on. Our health correspondent Helen Ford has been at the Coroner's Court in Middlesbrough. And what more was it told, Helen?
Well, this inquest is examining the death of 62-year-old Peter Coates, a former steelworker from Redcar, who lived with a severe form of the lung condition COPD, for which he required oxygen in order to breathe. The inquest heard that Mr. Coates rang 999 early one morning in March 2019 because his oxygen supply had failed due to that power cut. And today his inquest heard evidence from the 2 paramedics who arrived at his home. One described how the street and the property itself were in darkness because of the power cut. They told the hearing they'd used torches from the ambulance and the light from a mobile phone, as well as moving items outside the house before finding the safe box containing a key to the door. The hearing heard that the paramedics entered the property 10 minutes after arriving. They went upstairs where they found Mr. Coates dead.
And Helen, the inquest also heard evidence about a stop for fuel made by the crew as they were en route to Mr. Coates' home.
Yes, one of the paramedics who was in the passenger seat of the ambulance described how, shortly before being allocated to Mr. Coates' case, she had contacted their control room asking for permission to refuel. She'd said, "Can we pop for some fuel because we're only on 1 bar?" In fact, the inquest was told the vehicle had 29 litres of fuel on board. In other words, almost half a tank. But the paramedic, who at the time was relatively new in the job, thought that the phrase 1 bar simply generally related to being low on fuel. And the inquest has been told that the North East Ambulance Service has since changed its policy on refuelling and on ensuring that crews are given more information about the location of key safe boxes. This inquest has been adjourned until a date to be fixed.
Helen, thank you very much. Now it's January, that time of the year when some of us look to make healthier choices after Christmas maybe spent overindulging.
Yeah, well, as more people are turning to weight loss injections, medical professionals are highlighting the importance of exercising alongside taking them.
As experts warn, while injections can support fat loss, they can also contribute to a loss of muscle mass if using them without exercising as well. Chloe Oliver has more.
Jessu has been documenting her weight loss journey on social media for the last year and recently introduced the medication GLP-1, more commonly known as a weight loss jab.
As someone who has been trying for years, just with the gym alone, it wasn't enough. I mean, before the GLP-1s, I was constantly going to the gym, but I wasn't getting the results that I needed. However, when I started my GLP-1 journey, plus lifting weights, that really accelerated and changed everything. It just made me have confidence in myself.
Dr. Simon Adgers has over 20 years of clinical experience in metabolic health and says while the drugs are beneficial, they do come with side effects.
So these drugs are very cardioprotective and they are meant for certain class of people where the BMI is high. It shouldn't make you tired. But what is happening, there's more muscle loss, and we know that this is not the direct effect of the drugs itself. There has been a lot of work done in that field. It is because there's decreased appetite, you're not taking the proper nutrients, and because of the tiredness, you're not doing enough exercise. If you guide those people with the right sort of exercise, I think that much of the muscle loss can be prevented.
Personal trainers like Matthew Walker in Newcastle warn it's important to prioritise strength training, especially as weight loss medications can cause fatigue.
So the most advantageous form of exercise is going to be resistance training. When people are utilising weight loss drugs, unfortunately, one of the side effects is that it can cause muscle wastage as you're losing body weight. So counteracting that with resistance training and trying to build muscle tissue throughout that process is absolutely vital.
For Jessu, regularly working out while taking the weight loss jab is an obvious step. She says exercise improves her mood, keeps her strong and helps her maintain her weight loss long term. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
The ITV Evening News continues at 6:30 with Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, the United States says its forces have seized a Russia-linked oil tanker, having tracked it across the Atlantic. On social media, the US-European Command said the merchant vessel was seized for violations of US sanctions. Scotland's schools are closed for a third day as Storm Goretti looms. Amber weather warnings are in place across parts of the country for tomorrow. And sheep on a shopping spree in this supermarket in Bavaria. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
We've got got some breaking news now. Newcastle United legend Kevin Keegan is undergoing treatment for cancer. A statement from his family said that the former Magpies player and manager was admitted to hospital with abdominal symptoms, and investigations revealed a diagnosis of cancer. The statement says Kevin is grateful to the medical team for their intervention and ongoing care. He's now undergoing treatment, and his family have asked for privacy during this difficult time.
Now, both Newcastle United and Sunderland are in Premier League action, and both teams could find themselves making significant moves up or down the table tonight.
The teams at the top and the bottom of the league are fighting their own battles, but the Magpies and the Black Cats are both part of the volatile middle ground. Simon O'Rourke reports.
This could be a night to make half-empty glasses seem half full, or vice versa. Here's the top of the table. Sunderland in 8th, a point ahead of Newcastle in 9th. It's worth looking at the bottom half as well, because that shows how much movement is possible. 4 points separate 5th place from 14th. So by the end of tonight, the Black Cats and the Magpies could be up around the European places, or down in the bottom half.
I think it is slightly strange. It's a different Premier League season. I think the difference between all the teams is probably smaller than it's ever been. The strength through the league's got stronger. The league table sort of reflects that, but I think opportunities then exist within the league to climb it.
Newcastle will be favourites to beat Leeds at St James's Park tonight, but it's an example of why it's a tough division this year, because Leeds, like Sunderland, aren't just newly promoted cannon fodder. They're unbeaten in 7 league games.
We know what a difficult place Newcastle is to go there. They are there with a very impressive home record. But we are also in a good shape, and we travel also there with good confidence and want to be, again, difficult to play against.
Sunderland are unbeaten in 5 league games, although their impressive progress has slowed a little because they've drawn the last 4.
It's a strong platform to evolve and to improve. We would like to win more games, but this league is so demanding that sometimes 1 point is good, it's really good. And from this consistency, this character, this ability to manage different scenarios, I think we have the ability to improve different areas.
Sunderland are away at Brentford tonight. They're level on points with the Black Cats. They're another team doing better than expected, and another example of why it's a tough division this year.
A very, very demanding league. I think the league will tell you that. There's the points between 7th and I think it's 14th. Very, very little, 3 points, I believe. So yeah, we just focus on the next one, which will be a difficult day.
Sunderland's big picture still looks good, as they're absolutely nowhere near the relegation battle everyone thought they'd be fighting right now. Newcastle's big picture is still a bit confusing. They would have hoped to be higher up the table, but they might be quite a bit higher by the close of play tonight. It's that close.
On to cricket, and a disappointing Ashes tour for Durham superstar Ben Stokes just got worse. The England captain limped off with hip and groin injuries while he was bowling on the 4th day of the final test match in Sydney. It clearly affected him when he was batting later. He was out for just 1. Australia have already retained the Ashes, and England are facing another defeat on the last day of the series tomorrow. It looked quite warm in Sydney though, didn't it? I suppose that is something good, but it's been bitterly cold here. And if you've been in the position, a lucky position to be able to do so, then you might have had the heating blazing over the past couple of days.
Yes, but keeping our home warm is now expensive, so much so that some energy providers are pushing the government to invest in a project to install batteries in homes to reduce fuel poverty and improve grid capacity.
It could save people around £250 a year. Nick Smith reports.
With several more weeks of wintry weather ahead and a rise in the energy price cap this January, many homeowners like Ron Meadowcroft from Knaresborough will be keeping a keen eye on the smart meter. But Ron has been trialling a home battery installed by his energy provider, which charges at off-peak hours and activates in peak times, saving him money.
I signed up to do this. They suggested that the cost of electricity would be a little less, and I would have better electrical security. It helps to use surplus energy that they're having to dump during the night. I get it a little bit cheaper. It also nationally helps us to stop being reliant on fuels from other countries.
E.ON has been trialling this battery technology in areas with higher levels of fuel poverty or in places which struggle with power outages.
So we have installed batteries in customers' homes, added a time of use tariff. So we're optimizing, and then we give the energy saving back to the customers that have been part of the trial, and we've used around 20 customers in that particular trial. The range of benefits that we have seen in customers' bills is on average £250 per year, but in larger families, so where consumption is higher, actually you can see £400 worth of savings.
Ofgem data has identified approximately 130,000 homes struggling with fuel poverty in the northeast, and it's claimed by E.ON that storage batteries installed across those households could save a total of £24 million. Those at the National Energy Action charity say it can be part of a wider solution.
To get people affordably warm homes, there's different routes for it. Some people, it is about insulation. Their homes are so leaky, old, inefficient, you have to get the fabric of the home right before you do other measures. For other people, it's just about financial support for the running costs of the house. So there's different things of doing it, but certainly to get low carbon heating technology and battery storage in the homes of people who need it the most, who will benefit the most and less likely to be able to afford it, it's a great thing to do.
Energy providers say they are seeking government support in wider installation of storage batteries, and Westminster has detailed it as part of an overall Clean Power Action Plan for 2030. So in years to come, they could prove a useful tool in lowering energy bills, especially for those who may need it most. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Well, that might be a change for the future, but in the here and now, it's been a difficult week for farmers trying to fight the cold and keep their livestock warm.
Our correspondent Tom Barton's been to the Northumberland Hills, north of Wallington, to see how one farmer has been coping.
The first job of the day for Simon is clearing the ice from the water trough, making sure the herd of beef cattle on his Northumberland Hill farm have somewhere to drink.
So Simon, you've smashed up all of the ice in the trough now, but yes. What else is left to do here?
Well, we need to defrost the pipes. Obviously, the pipe's frozen, and the kind of the valve in here is frozen as well. So we need to lift this top off. So as you can see, a great big block of ice, which is I need to break that first. Yeah. But you can just see the frost just gets in everywhere. We've got the flasks to defrost the pipe, but actually, fortunately, the pipe's not frozen. So that's just perfect. Saves the job.
So the cows can have a drink.
The cows can now have a drink.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Those flasks do come in handy though, making sure the pipes inside the cattle sheds aren't blocked with ice. These cold weather jobs on top of a normal busy day on the farm.
I think as well as the day job, because we've still got to feed the cattle, we've still got to bed the cattle, we've got to make sure the sheep are fed and watered. But as well as those normal day-to-day jobs, we've got the added challenge of ice, frozen water troughs, frozen pipes.
And just how difficult is it to deal with that degree of extra workload?
You've just got to do it. So it just extends your days. Probably got to get up earlier to give yourself a bigger day, but you just get the jobs done. Farmers are at the forefront of climate change and the vagaries of the weather. So we end up much longer periods of rain or drought or snow events, and we've just got to, that's unfortunately what we've just got to live with.
But farmers across the region are doing more than simply looking after their own livestock.
A lot of the arable farmers or farming contractors, they'll be doing snow ploughing, they'll be doing gritting, they'll be going to towns and sorting out pavements and car parks and that kind of thing. And then also when people get stuck, come off the road, can't get up the hill because it's icy, it's generally the farmers that arrive with their tractors or Land Rovers and help those people out.
Alongside the cows, Simon also keeps sheep. An animal that even during cold spells like this has the perfect woolly jumper to keep it warm. Tom Barton, ITV News, Northumberland.
Oh, it is a tough gig being a farmer in these conditions.
It really
absolutely is, and especially I guess if there's more cold weather to come.
And there is more cold weather. There are signals at the end of the weekend into next week, temperatures will pick up for a bit, so that's good news. But for now, and also I'm going to say it's not as cold, although still down to -1 last night, but a couple of days ago I was talking about -10.
Yeah.
But that's the trouble, even if it's just a bit below freezing, we've still got the ice to deal with, and it's still out there, and like here actually on the Tyne, what started as just a few little ice pancakes soon formed together, and yeah, it looks pretty Arctic there, doesn't it? Not what you normally expect, yeah, just bits of ice floating down. So yeah, very cold indeed. And with the clear skies, we saw those temperatures tumbling again, and this is beautiful. Very cold, but Summerhill Force here in Teesdale, yeah, looking icically spectacular. That's not a phrase, but we'll go with it.
It's just icy, I think.
These guys aren't impressed, I'll say that. The ducks and geese, they're freezing. Shibden Pond here, just smaller and smaller waterhole every day. The wintry weather is going to continue. You'll be hearing about Storm Goretti at the moment. Southern half of the UK bearing the brunt of this with the strong winds, the rain and the snow. But we have now had a weather warning creep up into our part of the world over higher ground for these snow showers that will start to move their way in from the east as we head through the later part of Friday. As I say, there are hopes of some milder weather into next week. Here's the forecast.
Today's forecast. Seafood and sugar cube towns. 2 week sponsors ITV, Tyne's weather.
More wintry weather to come then through the next few days. Overnight, we're going to see those temperatures tumbling once again, dipping below freezing, frost, ice around, maybe some patches of freezing fog developing in sheltered areas, a scattering of wintry showers taking us into tomorrow, and then things becoming more unsettled through the late part of the day as we see Storm Goretti moving its way in from the west. So this storm system here, although it's named by the French Met Office, is having impacts across much of the UK, particularly the southern half. The strongest winds, the heaviest rainfall, the heaviest snowfall. For us, as it moves its way further east, we see that flow coming in from the North Sea, pushing showers through, and certainly over higher ground for a time, we will see some snowfall. For now, though, the showers are rolling their way in from the east coast, yes, but they're few and far between. Light breezes mean they're sometimes slow moving, but actually as we pass midnight, they tend to disappear. We're left with some clearer skies, holding on to those lighter breezes, temperatures down at -1, -2 degrees. So no surprise, very used to this at the moment. Cold, frosty and icy as we head into Thursday morning. Showers tomorrow trying to work their way in from the west. Very hit and miss. For most of us, it's staying dry. And although cloud amounts will vary as we head into the afternoon, we do have some brighter breaks, some sunny spells, and it's not as cold in those winds. We've got highs around 3 or 4 degrees. So, of course, later on Thursday into Friday, we start to look down towards the south. There's the storm system there, potentially damaging weather as we make our way through Friday towards the southern half of the UK. For us, really, it's not until later we see the winds picking up, pushing in those showers from the North Sea. So up and down through the next few days, messy picture into Friday. It is going to calm down as we head into the weekend. Plenty of winter sunshine, but for now, staying very cold indeed.
2 week sponsors ITV, Tyne's weather.
Thank you, Ross. In just a moment, the national and international news. Back with a late update for you at 10:30 tonight. Hope to see you then. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.